What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. It's Amanda here, and happy Artsy Fartsy Friday. Welcome to the first official art video of 2018. My last video was a bullet journaling video, so this is technically my first illustration of the new year, which is really super cool. I'm happy that I'm finally back talking to you guys. Now that I'm only doing one video a week, it feels like I go so long without talking to you. I'm so used to doing 3 videos a week. But now that I'm cutting down to 1, I feel like I have so much to say. I have so much to tell you guys. It's been so long. So this is the second video in my famous artist series. You guys might remember from back in September, I painted a portrait of Frida Kahlo, who's an artist that I'm really inspired by. I love her work. I love what she stands for. And then I sort of had this idea to pay tribute to several of my favorite famous artists through a series of portraits that were very much like the Frida Kahlo one. So just sort of a bust up portrait, and they sort of have these floating hands, and then there's something in the background that is sort of a lineless, structureless element that really pays tribute to what that artist is known for. So with the Frida Kahlo piece, I did a background of these sort of beautiful roses, and I really loved how that looked. I love the Frida Kahlo piece. I think it's actually one of my best pieces for the year of 2017. I was really proud of that one. And now I'm doing this one of Vincent Van Gogh. I love Vincent Van Gogh for several reasons, but particularly I love his use of color and how he incorporates flowers into his work. Now, originally I had planned on doing sunflowers in the background of this piece, but I think what Vincent Van Gogh is known best for is his Starry Night painting. So I definitely wanted to include a few of those elements in this as well. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Just to start off the painting, I am inking with my Daler-Rowney acrylic inks, and I mixed a couple of these to get a custom color, something that is not quite black and not quite brown, but sort of like a cool-ish warm black. I know that doesn't make sense. It's like a cool brown but a warm black, something kind of in between that. I mixed a couple of different colors to get this, and sort of the more I use the ink, the lighter that it gets when I go a while without dipping back into the ink. So I use that sort of systematically to get lighter lines in certain areas of the piece and darker lines in other areas, if that makes sense. I can do a whole video about line art and why I do different line art techniques with different mediums or different pieces to get sort of different feelings and vibes. I can totally do a video about that if you guys are interested. Let me know in a comment down below or by thumbsing up the video so that I know that that's something that you guys would want. So yeah, and I love these inks because they're very waterproof, so they work really well with wet mediums like watercolor, and I love the amount of control that I can get. And how, you know, the brush that I'm working with really allows me to get these fine details as well as these really thick, bold lines. I've really been loving this style, and I'm excited to do more work in this series just for this reason, because I've really been liking this sort of semi-realistic style. It's very different from the style I've had even just the last couple of years. But I really like the direction that it's going in, and I think I'm going to continue to try and hone in on this style and explore it a little bit more. Now, just to sort of start getting some color down on the page, I'm starting with the skin tone, and I wanted to keep it kind of light and kind of cool tone just to sort of match the look that Vincent Van Gogh did in a lot of his self-portraits. I'm also keeping in mind the different colors that he used, such as greens and blues and yellows throughout his work, so I'm trying to incorporate those colors as much as possible, even in areas where I might not think to use them, such as the hair and the skin tone. So I am doing that a lot. It's a lot of layering. This is a very slow building process, and I find with watercolors a lot of the time I work from lightest to darkest, and I spend a lot of time blending out each layer, and I'll do that by putting a color down and then going in with a clean, almost dry brush to sort of softly blend out the edges, and I've really been liking that technique. I can talk about that more in a separate video as well. I'm still fairly new to watercolor, so I don't really feel like I'm equipped to give you guys a full in-depth tutorial on how to use watercolors, but I could do a video sort of breaking down some of my beginner's tips that I would have for those of you who are starting to get into watercolor, because I do feel like I've definitely learned a thing or two just in the last few months of really using watercolors, because you guys know towards the end of last year I totally just had this phase of like going watercolor crazy where all I used was watercolors. I barely even touched my Copics. And it's been a really weird time for me as an artist, just kind of exploring this phase. So I'm just going to kind of ride this wave out and see where it goes. But don't worry, for those of you that love my marker art and subscribe for my marker art, I'm still going to be doing that. So fear not, marker illustrations will resume very, very soon as well. So you can see I'm adding some warmth to his skin by adding just sort of like some pops of red or pink just to make him look a little bit more alive. He was looking kind of dead and zombie-ish there for a minute, so I wanted to give him some life by adding a little bit of a tint to like his nose and cheeks. And then moving on to his hair, I started out with like this really kind of warm orangey auburn color, but then I quickly realized that I would need to tone this down to sort of match the rest of the piece. And this is where I sort of utilized those blues and greens in the hair to sort of make it match and look really cohesive. So even though my style is not nearly as expressionist as Vincent Van Gogh's was, I do feel like I used a lot of elements from his artwork in this piece. And I feel like that really kind of captivates the whole point of this piece, and it really sort of captures his essence as well. I think the expression is really good here. I think he looks kind of empty, which I feel like a lot of his work reflects that as well, and a lot of his self-portraits kind of capture that empty, solemn emotion. So I think I really did a good job with the expression. A lot of you really seem to like the texture of the hair in this piece as well. A lot of that is coming from the line art, but then also the variety of tones gives it a really good texture. So I was really happy with that as well. Overall, I think that this was a great way to kick off 2018 for me. This piece is already giving me a lot of confidence with what this year has in store for me, and hopefully you all enjoy watching it, because I don't really know what 2018 is going to bring. I have a lot of ideas, a lot of really fun illustrations and series that I want to start. I think I want to do a Zodiac series and hopefully have a calendar by the end of next year that I can create for 2019. That's been a really big goal of mine for a while, and I think I have a pretty good approach for how I want to do it. So I don't know. What do you guys think about me doing like a whole Zodiac series where I would have like one video a month dedicated to a Zodiac illustration? And then, of course, I would have one video a month dedicated to bullet journaling. And then those other two videos would really kind of be up in the air and sort of play it by ear depending on what you guys want. So it may be product reviews, it may be more illustrations or, you know, tutorials, just kind of depending on what I feel like you guys want to see most. So we're getting into the background now that I've kind of finished the rest of the figure. And the background is a very quick but very fun, colorful process. So if you remember with the Frida Kahlo piece, I sort of left this space for a halo. I'm still doing very much the same thing here, where I have this circle behind his head that I'm leaving blank for the time being. And then around that, I'm adding these really kind of fun expressionist strokes of blues and greens and teals. And then I go in and I add some yellow as well. And these colors just really kind of mimic the texture and the feel of Van Gogh's Starry Night painting, because it has all of those colors kind of playing together in these swirling shapes. And I feel like that also kind of complements that halo shape behind his head as well. So I really love how those colors played together. And I went ahead and filled in that halo with this kind of really light, bright, punchy yellow color. And even though I go over that in a little while with some metallic paint, a lot of that yellow still shows through, which I think is why I really love the way that this piece ended up looking, because that yellow is actually, I don't know, so reminiscent of of Vincent's work, especially in the Starry Night painting, that it really just fits well with the overall vibe of this illustration. So I'm glad I decided to do the yellow. Originally, I only had planned to do blues and greens, but the yellow really sold it for me, and it contrasts so well with the blues, not only in the skin and in the background, but just in the overall piece. Even in the hair, there's a lot of blues, so the cool tones throughout the piece just really contrast and fit well with each other. And I'm using my Kuretake Starry Night Gansai Tombi watercolor paints. I actually don't even, they're called Starry Night, whatever these are called. I've done a review of them. But they're really good metallic watercolors, and I did kind of a sheer layer of it over the yellow. Like I said, I think that the yellow peeping through really kind of makes the piece, but then the metallic element is really cool as well, and I think that that's something that I want to carry out throughout the series. So comment down below which other artists you think I should do for this series. I have a plan to do Keith Haring and maybe Pablo Picasso. I'm not sure. Let me know any other famous artists that you think I should do a portrait of for this series. I would love to know your opinions and your thoughts. But yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you did, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below telling me what your resolutions are for 2018. If you haven't already told me on my resolutions video, then I would love to know what your plans are for the new year. What are your art goals and ambitions? And what have you created so far this year? I'd love to know that as well. But that's it for me today, guys. Thank you for watching. I super appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!